Here on the channel, I reference the 603 a lot. From time to time though, it occurs to me that you might not actually know what I'm talking about. So today, I want to fix that. What is the 603? In short, it is the 603 official Skylanders figures or items that were released to be used with the Skylanders games. This list does not come from any official source, such as Activision. It was developed by a group of hardcore Skylanders fans who wanted an official list. I would like to note that I am not a part of the group that developed this list. However, I have reviewed the list and the criteria they used for the list, and I can say I agree with it. So, how does a figure make it onto this list? Well, there are 3 criteria that every figure must meet. Number 1, the item must have physical figures that exist. This one seems pretty obvious, but it does actually exclude a few figures. There are some figures that are in the code of the games that don't actually have physical figures. Some of you might be aware of Goldie or the Vicarious Visions VV wind-up figure, however you pronounce that. Those don't count. Number 2, the item must have a functioning chip for use in a Skylanders game. Another one that seems pretty obvious, but not only does this help include some figures that we'll talk about later, but it also excludes basically any prototype figure that's out there. Most prototypes don't have chips. You can think of like Series 4 Cinder. It was a character that they developed, they had prototyped, but they never made a chip for. And number 3, at the time in which the physical figures were created, they must have been intended to be a unique figure and to be released to retailers, employees, trade shows, or other related methods of distribution. I'm gonna stop there for a minute because there's almost 2 separate points here, even though the second one's kind of a sub-point of the first one. But this first part of the point definitely helps us include figures like Heartbreaker Buckshot. He was intended to be released, but he never actually got released. And then the final subpoint, the item in question must not solely have been used as a stepping stone to another given figure's final design. Now, I wasn't there when they created this point, but in my mind, this was meant to exclude things like my E3 Spyro. This is a figure that it would meet the other criteria. It has a physical figure, it has a chip that was intended for use with the games, and it was even distributed at a trade show. However, as I've talked about before, this version of the figure does not work in the final version of the game, so it is a stepping stone to the final version. So I think you can agree the first 2 points are pretty obvious, but necessary nonetheless. It's that third point though that really starts to do some work and weed out some of those potential inclusions. There's a reason it's so wordy and even has that subpoint. Basically, the creators of this list knew where they wanted to draw the line, but they had to use some very specific wording in order to get there. Now let's dive into which figures are on this list, and along the way, I'll explain why a number of figures or variations aren't included on the list. First up, Spyro's Adventure. Here we have the original 32 characters: Bash, Boomer, Camo, Chop Chop, Cinder, Dino Rang, Double Trouble, Drill Sergeant. Drill Sergeant is actually one that some people might have an argument for. In the early days of Spyro's Adventure, Drill Sergeant was exclusive to Walmart. Now, I would make the argument that the only difference is in the packaging. The early packaging had that exclusive to Walmart or available only at Walmart sticker on it. Since that time though, some people have noted that the paint color, the red paint color, is different than the later versions that came out and were available everywhere. Now, I will agree that if you get enough drill sergeants together, you can definitely start to notice the difference in the paint. However, this is where we have to bring up that third point in the list of criteria we mentioned earlier. At the time in which the physical figures were created, they must have been intended to be a unique figure. And I can stop right there. These were intended to be the same figure. The Walmart exclusive version and the version that was released everywhere, it was the same figure. They were just produced at different factories. they got the paint color just slightly different, or the finish or something in the process, and there is a slight visual difference between the two, but that doesn't mean that they were trying to create a different figure. Now let's get back to the list. Drobot, Ruptor, Flameslinger, Ghost Roaster, Gilgrunt, Hex, Igniter, Lightning Rod, Prism Break, Slam Bam, Sonic Boom, Spyro, Stealth Elf, Stump Smash, Sunburn, Terrafin, Trigger Happy, Voodooed, Tornado, Whamshell, Whirlwind. With Whirlwind, you may know where I'm going with this already. It's the same story. Whirlwind was originally exclusive to Target. Some folks have noted later on that the cloud base, one of them is a little bit more white, one is a little bit more gray. But once again, this is just a difference from which factory they were produced at. It was not intended to be a separate figure. So the Target exclusive version of Whirlwind is not included in the 603. Now let's finish up these 32. Wrecking Ball, Zap, and Zook. Beyond those playable characters though, there were more magic items. These are also included because, once again, they meet the criteria. Anvil Rain, Darklight Crypt, Dragon's Peak, Ghost Swords, Healing Elixir, Hidden Treasure, Empire of Ice, Pirate Seas, Sky Iron Shield, Sparks Dragonfly, Time Twister, Volcanic Vault, Winged Boots. Beyond the standard figures though, we also have a number of variants. Here at SCL, I tend to split these variants into two separate groups. In-game variants and chase variants, or non-in-game variants. During Spyro's adventure, we got 9 figures I include in the in-game variant section. This includes Dark Spyro, Legendary Bash, Legendary Chop Chop, Legendary Spyro, Legendary Trigger Happy, Sidekick Gil Runt, Sidekick Terabyte, Sidekick Trigger Snappy, Sidekick Whisper Elf. Here I could see some folks making an argument that the sidekicks weren't even playable, so why would they be included? But once again, playability of the figure was not one of the criteria. They have a physical figure, they have a chip, they were intended to be unique. Those are the 3 main criteria, the 3 main points there. You could argue that the sidekicks are basically like magic items in Spyro's adventure. We included those, so the sidekicks get included as well. Now moving on to the chase variants. Blue Bash, Chrome Spyro, Clear Cinder, Clear Stealth Elf, Clear Whamshell, Clear Whirlwind, Flocked Stump Smash, Glow-in-the-Dark Tornado, Glow-in-the-Dark Wrecking Ball, Glow-in-the-Dark Zap, Gold Chop Chop, Gold Drill Sergeant, Gold Flameslinger, Green Gilgrunt, Metallic Purple Cinder, Pearl Hex, Red Camo, Red Drill Sergeant, Silver Boomer, Silver Dino Rang, and Silver Eruptor. That wraps up Spyro's adventure. We're at 75 figures already, but we're a long way off from 603. So let's see what else we can include. Next, we move on to Skylanders Giants. Here we naturally start off with the 8 Giants: Bouncer, Crusher, Eyebrawl, Hothead, Ninjini, Swarm, Thumpback, T-Rex. Then we also had 8 new core Skylanders. Chill. This is a big one for some folks. What about Purple Lip Chill? Well, once again, this falls into the category of the factory screwed it up. Whether it's a slightly different paint color or a different color of lipstick, there was only one figure that was supposed to be created. They were all supposed to be the same. They were intended to be the same. So they did fix it after a while. We do have two different versions, but they were intended to be the same figure. So no, Purple Lip Chill is not in the 603. Continuing on though, Flashwing, Fright Rider, Hot Dog, Jet Vac, Pop Fizz, Shroom Boom, Sprocket. Then we had 24 returning Skylanders from Spyro's Adventure. Series 2 Bash, Series 2 Chop Chop, Series 2 Cinder, Series 2 Double Trouble, Series 2 Drill Sergeant, Series 2 Drobot, Series 2 Eruptor, Series 2 Flameslinger, Series 2 Gil Grunt, Series 2 Hex, Series 2 Igniter, Series 2 Lightning Rod, Series 2 Prism Break, Series 2 Slam Bam, Series 2 Sonic Boom, Series 2 Spyro, Series 2 Stealth Elf, Series 2 Stump Smash, Series 2 Terrafin, Series 2 Trigger Happy, Series 2 Whirlwind, Series 2 Wrecking Ball, Series 2 Zap, Series 2 Zook. Then we got something new in Skylanders Giants, the Light Core figures. We got 8 of these as well. They include Light Core Chill, Light Core Drobot, Light Core Eruptor, Light Core Hex, Light Core Jet Vac, Light Core Pop Fizz, Light Core Prism Break, Light Core Shroom Boom. The magic items for Skylanders Giants were very limited, but we did have a few. Dragonfire Cannon, Golden Dragonfire Cannon, a Platinum Treasure Chest. I'm gonna have to pause right here as well. This is another one that gets some folks, because the Platinum Treasure Chest, if you've ever tried to use it in-game, will show up as just a hidden treasure. The same magic item that we got back in Spyro's Adventure. However, this is where that third point in the list comes into play again. It was intended to be a unique figure. Platinum Treasure Chest was intended to be a separate figure than everything else. If you look at the trading card and the sticker that come along with it, it says Platinum Treasure Chest. It looks different. It has a different finish on the figure. Everything is correct, different, unique about it, except for the actual coding on the chip. But because it meets those criteria, we are once again including this one in the 603. Then the final magic item from Skylanders Giants is the Scorpion Striker Catapult. Moving on to some in-game variants. Gnarly Tree Rex, Granite Crusher, Jade Flashwing, Legendary Bouncer, Legendary Light Core Chill, Legendary Igniter, Legendary Jet Vac, Legendary Slam Bam, Legendary Stealth Elf, Molten Hot Dog, Polar Whirlwind, Punch Pop Fizz, Royal Double Trouble, Scarlet Ninjini, Sidekick Barkley, Sidekick Eye Small, Sidekick Mini Genie, Sidekick Thumpling. Once again with the sidekicks here, you could make the same argument as you did in Spyro's Adventure, but we've already got that covered. Jumping into the chase variant category. Double Trouble 1.5. Now, Double Trouble 1.5 is possibly the figure I struggle with the most. And once again, it's because of the very precise wording in that third point. It was intended to be a unique figure. And I have to sit here and wonder, like, was this actually intended to be a unique figure, a separate figure? In case you're unfamiliar, Double Trouble 1.5 uses the pose of a Series 1 figure, but it has the orange base of a Series 2 figure, and the chip simply reads as a Series 2 Double Trouble. So I'm not entirely sure that it was intended to be a separate figure, but it definitely uses different parts of the two different figures and kind of made, unintentionally, I would argue, a new figure. But then you run into the problem of, well, they gave us a variant of this figure in Royal Double Trouble. And that's definitely supposed to be a unique figure. So I can't quite explain away that little minute separation there between the wording and what we got here, but it's really hard for me not to include Double Trouble 1.5 in the 603. It would just feel wrong, because then if you don't include Double Trouble 1.5, like, what is Royal Double Trouble even a variant of? It's hard to say exactly one way or the other what their intentions were with this figure, and I suppose if we sat down for another day or two and tried to work out some wording, maybe make a sub point for this criteria, that we could find a way to include Double Trouble 1.5. But as the criteria are worded right now, it seems to me like Double Trouble 1.5 could be excluded. But what you need to know for now is Double Trouble 1.5 is included in the 603. But let me know down in the comments below. Do you think Double Trouble 1.5 should be included or not? Is it in your collection or not? In any case, let's get back to the rest of the chase variants. E3 Hot Dog, Employee Edition Light Core Prism Break, Glow in the Dark Cinder, Glow in the Dark Fright Rider, Glow in the Dark Sonic Boom, Golden Flameslinger, Halloween Fright Rider, Metallic Blue Chop Chop, Metallic Green Gil Grunt, Metallic Green Shroom Boom, Metallic Purple Eyebrow, Metallic Purple Lightning Rod, Metallic Purple Wrecking Ball, Pumpkin Eyebrow, Sparkle Hothead, Sparkle Sonic Boom, Sparkle Sprocket, Stone Whirlwind, Stone Zook, White Flocked Eruptor, White Flocked Light Core Prism Break, White Flocked Stump Smash. That adds 93 more figures to the list, giving us a total of 168 figures in the list so far. We're almost a third of the way there, but these games keep growing as we go along. So let's move on. Moving on to our third game, Skylanders Swap Force. Here we had the 16 new swappers: Blast Zone, Boomjet, Doomstone, Fire Kraken, Free Ranger, Freeze Blade, Rilla Drilla, Boot Loop, Magna Charge, Night Shift. And I'll pause here with Night Shift to address another fairly common issue. Some people will mention that Night Shift sometimes has a bluish tint to his smoke, fog, the clear plastic parts of him, whatever those are made out of. And some have more of a bluish tinge, some have more of a grayish tinge. Once again, this is just a difference in which factory it was produced at. They were not intended to be a separate figure. That's just the way they turned out. There are a number of figures like this throughout the run of all 6 games, and they all fall into the same category. They weren't intended to be separate figures, and therefore they're not counted separately in the 603. Continuing on with our swappers: Rattleshake, Rubble Rouser, Spy Rise, Stink Bomb, Trap Shadow, Washbuckler. In Swap Force, we also got 16 new core Skylanders: Bumble Blast, Countdown, Dunebug, Rhino, Grim Creeper, Hopthorn, Punk Shock, Riptide, Roller Brawl, Scorp, Scratch, Slobbertooth, Smolder Dash, Star Strike, Wind Up, Zulu. In this game, 16 was a common theme. and we got 16 returning Skylanders. This is a mixture of Series 2 and Series 3. This is where they also decided to give them alternate names. So here we have Anchors Away Gil Grunt, Big Bang Trigger Happy, Lizard Chill, Firebone Hot Dog, Heavy Duty Sprocket, Horn Blast Whirlwind, Hyper Beam Prism Break, Knockout Terrafin, Lava Barf Eruptor, Mega Ram Spyro, Ninja Stealth Elf, Phantom Cinder, Super Gulp Pop Fizz, Thornhorn Camo, Turbo Jetvac, Twin Blade Chop Chop. Swap Force also gave us 8 new Light Core Skylanders. Light Core Bumble Blast, Light Core Countdown, Light Core Flashwing, Light Core Grim Creeper, Light Core Smolderdash, Light Core Starstrike, Light Core Warnado, and Light Core Whamshell. During this game, we got 9 new magic items: Archean Crossbow, Battle Hammer, Fiery Forge, Groove Machine, Platinum Sheep, Sheepwreck Island, Sky Diamond, Tower of Time, and the UFO hat. And yes, the UFO hat is included in the 603. It's not a matter of playability. It's just a matter of meeting those 3 criteria. It has a physical figure. In this case, the figure is a card, but it's a collectible item. There is a chip inside. Once again, this is true. And number 3, it was intended to be a unique item. So some people, once again, may argue whether or not this belongs in the 603, but it is always up to you to decide if you want in your collection. The 603 is just what I decided to collect. That is my goal, but you may have a different goal. Moving on to the in-game variants from Skylanders Swap Force. Dark Blast Zone, Dark Slobbertooth, Dark Spyro, Dark Stealth Elf, Dark Washbuckler, Enchanted Hootloop, Enchanted Light Core Starstrike, Jade Firecracken, Jolly Bumbleblast, Kickoff Countdown, Legendary Free Ranger, Legendary Light Core Grim Creeper, Legendary Night Shift, Legendary Zulu, Nitro Freeze Blade, Nitro Magna Charge, Quick Draw Rattleshake, Springtime Trigger Happy, and Volcanic Eruptor. Then let's jump right into the chase variants from Skylanders Swap Force. Bronze and Silver Trap Shadow, Flocked Springtime Trigger Happy, the Green Flame Firebone Hot Dog, Purple Flame Firebone Hot Dog, Red Flame Firebone Hot Dog, Golden Bronze Doomstone, Gold Firecracken, Green Chop Chop, Green Riptide, Green Scorp, Heavy Metal Sprocket, Metallic Green Washbuckler, Metallic Red Dunebug, Silver and Gold Stink Bomb, Snowderdash. And with those 99 figures added to the list, we're up to a total of 267 figures. Now it's time for Skylanders Trap Team. The 4th game contains nearly 1/4 of the entire 603. We begin with the Trap Masters: Blastermind, Bushwhack, Enigma, Gear Shift, Gusto, Head Rush, Jawbreaker, Kaboom, Nightlight, Nightmare, Crypt King, Lobstar. I'll pause with Lobstar here because this is one, it's the first one that's going to be kind of a theme throughout Trap Team here. It's possible you've seen a clear star Lobstar, meaning the blue stars that he's holding in his hands aren't blue. They're clear. They don't have any blue dye in them. And this is something we saw frequently throughout Trap Team, and actually on into later games as well. The things that were supposed to be dyed blue, over the course of the game, over the course of the releases, just lost more and more of their color, and eventually they started releasing figures without any dye in the parts of the figure. Once again, this was not intended to be a separate figure. It's something that happened at the factories. It's something that either the QA testers just let go or didn't care about, didn't ask about, or Activision just said, hey, yeah, that's fine. Ship it out anyway. I don't know the full story behind that. Hopefully I'll learn about it someday. But the point for this video is it's not a separate figure. So there's only one standard Lobstar in the 603. Shortcut, Snapshot, Thunderbolt, Tough Luck, Wallop, Wildfire. Just like we had 20 new Trap Masters, we also have 20 new core Skylanders in Trap Team. This includes Batspin, Blackout, Blades, Chopper, Cobra Cadabra, Deja Vu, Echo, Fist Bump, Fling Kong, Flip Wreck, Food Fight, Funny Bone, High Five, Rocky Roll, Spotlight, Torch, Trailblazer, and Treadhead. Now this is where the numbers start to get a little bit weird. I don't really have an explanation for this one either, but we only got 5 turning characters in Skylanders Trap Team. There's Fizzy Frenzy Pop Fizz, Full Blast Jetpack, Hog Wild Frino, Sure Shot Shroom Boom, and Tidal Wave Gil Grunt. Then they introduced us to a new line of figures known as minis. Now, you may be saying these look very similar to sidekicks, and you would be right. For some of them, they just reused the models from the sidekicks, made them minis, gave them a different base. But once again, that different base makes them a different figure. At least as far as this list goes, and as far as the collecting goes, different colored base equals a different figure. Even if they react the same in the game, that doesn't matter. So the 16 minis include Barkley, Bop, Breeze, Drobit, I Small, Gil Runt, Hijinks, Mini Genie, Petvac, Small Fry, Spry, Terabyte, Thumpling, Trigger Snappy, Wee Ruptor, and Whisper Elf. We got 9 new magic items in Skylanders Trap Team. Hand of Fate, Legendary Hand of Fate, Midnight Museum, Mirror of Mystery, Nightmare Express, Piggy Bank, Rocket Ram, Sunscraper Spire, Tiki Speaky. Moving on to the in-game variant characters. Dark Food Fight, Dark Snapshot, Dark Wildfire, Excellent Wee Ruptor, Gnarly Barkley, King Cobra Cadabra, Legendary Blades, Legendary Bushwhack, Legendary Deja Vu, Legendary Jawbreaker, Love Potion Pop Fizz, Nitro Head Rush, Nitro Crypt King, Power Punch Petvac, Winterfest Lobstar. And then there were just 3 chase variant characters: Clear Shortcut, Clear Thunderbolt, Clear Tough Luck. Then we move on to the items that really bumped up the numbers for collectible items in Skylanders Trap Team, the traps. So here we have the Air Hourglass, the Air Jughead, Air Screamer, Air Snake, Air Sword, and the Air Toucan. The Dark Handstand, Dark Spider, and Dark Sword. the Earth Hammer, Earth Handstand, Earth Hourglass, Earth Orb, Earth Totem, and Earth Toucan, the Fire Captain's Hat, Fire Scepter, Fire Screamer, Fire Torch, Fire Totem, and Fire Yawn, the Chaos Trap, Life Hammer, Life Snake, Life Sword, Life Torch, Life Toucan, Life Yawn, the Light Owl, Light Rocket, and Light Yawn, Magic Axe, Magic Hourglass, Magic Log Holder, Magic Rocket, Magic Skull, Magic Totem, the Tech Angel, Tech Flying Helmet, Tech Hand, Tech Handstand, Tech Scepter, and Tech Tiki, the Undead Axe, Undead Captain's Hat, Undead Hand, Undead Orb, Undead Skull, and Undead Snake, the Water Angel, Water Axe, Water Flying Helmet, Water Jughead, Water Log Holder, and the Water Tiki Trap. Not only do the characters get variants, but the traps got some as well. We have the Easter Bunny Earth Trap, the legendary Undead Orb Trap, the legendary Undead Skull Trap, the legendary Water Jughead Trap, and the ultimate Chaos Trap. But we're not quite done with Trap Team yet. There's one more set of traps that often gets forgotten about, but I have to bring them up because they do count in the 603. Now these traps are the villain variant traps. From the outside, if you don't have their original packaging, they look exactly like their other counterparts. For example, Steamed Broccoli Guy comes in the Life Toucan trap. If you have a villain variant trap and just a Life Toucan trap right next to each other out of the package, there is no way to tell them apart. The only way to know if you have a villain variant trap is to put it in the portal. So once again, looking back at the criteria, there's nothing that specifically says each item has to be physically different. They have to be different in some way, otherwise we wouldn't count them twice. But in this case, it's the chip inside that is different. And ultimately, that's why they're able to be included in the 603 separately. There are 6 villain variants. We have Outlaw Brawl and Chain, which lives in a water log holder trap. Rebel Lobgoblin, who lives in a light rocket trap. Red Hot Tussle Sprout is in the Earth Totem trap. Riot Shield Shredder, who is in the Life Torch trap. Steamed Broccoli Guy, as I mentioned earlier, in the Life Toucan trap. And Steampunk Shredknot can be found in a Tech Flying Helmet trap. If you're not familiar with the villain variants, I know it can be a little bit confusing. I might have to make a video about it at some point. But all you need to know for now is they are included in the 603. With those variants, we made it to 150 new items and a total of 417. Getting much closer to our total of 603 now, but it's time to wrap up this game. In case you're wondering about the clear water traps that you may have seen from time to time, it's the same story. These were not intended to be a separate variant or anything like that. It's just something that happened in production over time. They let it go, but it's not a separate item. Moving on now to Skylanders Superchargers. Here we start off with the playable characters or the drivers. Astroblast, Big Bubble Pop Fizz, Bone Bash Roller Brawl, Deep Dive Gill Grunt, Dive Clops, Double Dare Trigger Happy, Fiesta, Hammer Slam Bowser, High Volt, Hurricane Jetvac, Lava Lance Eruptor, Nightfall. In case you're wondering about the Error Nightfall figure, once again, it was not intended to be a separate figure. It was an error. The collectible piece of this that most people have in their collections is really the packaging. I have it in my collection. I'm collecting it because of the unique packaging. And the error itself, especially since they fixed the error in the game, makes the figures basically indistinguishable outside of the packaging. Sharkshooter Terrafin, Smash Hit, Spitfire, Splat, Stormblade, Supershot Stealth Elf, Thrillipede, Turbocharged Donkey Kong. I don't think there would be any question whether or not DK and Bowser would be included in this list in the 603, but just in case, there's no criteria stating that it has to be playable on every platform or something like that. Once again, playability isn't really one of the criteria that was used for this list. So yes, both DK and Bowser are included in the 603. Moving on to the in-game variants of the drivers. Birthday Bash Big Bubble Pop Fizz, Dark Hammer Slam Bowser, Dark Spitfire, Dark Supershot Stealth Elf, Dark Turbocharged Donkey Kong, Egg-Sighted Thrillipede, Frightful Fiesta, Legendary Astroblast, Legendary Bone Bash Roller Brawl, Legendary Hurricane Jetpack, Mistletoe Dive Clops, Power Blue Splat, Power Blue Trigger Happy, Steel Plated Smash Hit. And we also have a few chase variants of the Superchargers drivers. Bronze Bone Bash Roller Brawl, Patina High Volt, Patina Lava Lance Eruptor, Snowbright Stormblade. And then we move on to the vehicle section of Superchargers. Barrel Blaster, Burn Cycle, Buzzwing, Clown Cruiser, Crypt Crusher, Dive Bomber, Gold Rusher, Hot Streak, Jetstream, Reef Ripper, Sea Shadow, Shark Tank, Shield Striker, Sky Slicer, Soda Skimmer, Splatter Splasher, Stealth Stinger, Sun Runner, Thump Truck, Tomb Buggy. And then naturally, these vehicles have some in-game variants that are included as well. Dark Barrel Blaster, Dark Clown Cruiser, Dark Hot Streak, Dark Sea Shadow, Event Exclusive Hot Streak, Golden Hot Streak, Legendary Sunrunner, Mobile Hot Streak. Mobile Hot Streak is an interesting figure because it wasn't included in this list for a while. We didn't actually know it existed for the longest time. But the research team, when they were diving into all the different figures and figuring out what was included and what wasn't, they stumbled across this version of Hot Streak. I think what really sells it for me personally is that it shows up as a different item in the collection menu. It shows up as Hot Streak Special. Now, externally, this figure looks exactly the same. It is identical to the standard Hot Streak vehicle. But when you put it in the game, it will register differently. In this respect, it's quite similar to the villain variant traps that we talked about. They look identical on the outside, and the only way to really know which is which is to put it on the portal, look at it in the game. Continuing with the in-game vehicle variants. Nitro Soda Skimmer, Nitro Stealth Stinger, Power Blue Gold Rusher, Power Blue Splatter Splasher, and Spring Ahead Dive Bomber. There were also a few chase variants for the vehicles. Bronze Tomb Buggy, Patina Burn Cycle, Patina Shield Striker. And finally, just a small handful of magic items that came out alongside Skylanders Superchargers. Chaos Trophy, Land Trophy, the Sea Trophy, and the Sky Trophy. That list adds 78 more items to our grand total, giving us 495 items so far. We've got one more game to go, so let's check it out. Moving on to the 6th and final game, Skylanders Imaginators. We have our Sensei figures. Airstrike, Ambush, Aurora, Barbella, Boom Bloom, Buckshot, Chain Reaction, Chopscotch, Crash Bandicoot, Dr. Neocortex, Ember, Flare Wolf, Kingpin, Mysticat, Hit Boss, Robo, Starcast, Tidepool, Tri-Tip, Wildstorm. Those Sensei naturally had some in-game variants as well. Candy-coated Chopscotch, Dark Kingpin, Egg Bomber Airstrike, Hard-boiled Flare Wolf, Heartbreaker Buckshot. Yes, you heard it right. Heartbreaker Buckshot is part of the 603. And this is where your collection list may vary from my collection list. But let's take a look at those criteria again. The item must have physical figures that exist. Yes, believe it or not, Heartbreaker Buckshot figures do exist. The item must have a functioning chip for use in a Skylanders game. Even here, there are physical figures for Heartbreaker Buckshot with functional chips. They're hard to come by, but they do exist. At the time which the physical figures were created, they must have been intended to be a unique figure and to be released to retailers. Yes and yes. Heartbreaker Buckshot meets all the criteria to be on this list. So yes, Heartbreaker Buckshot is part of the 603. Finishing up the in-game variant list, we have Legendary Pit Boss, Legendary Tri-Tip, and Solar Flare Aurora. There are also a few chase variants for the Senseis. Clear Starcast, December, Happy Birthday Ben Starcast. You heard me right again. Happy Birthday Ben Starcast is on the list of the 603. The biggest sticking point here for many people is going to be the distribution method. But how is this any different from an employee edition figure, where they were never released to the public directly, but they were released to various people? So once again, Happy Birthday Ben Starcast meets all the criteria to be on this list, and it's on the list for me. Two final chase variants to add to this list: Orange Chain Reaction and Pink Barbella. In addition to those original Sensei, we also have the villain Sensei: Bad Juju, Blastertron, Chompy Mage, Dr. Crankcase, Golden Queen, Grave Clobber, Hoodsicle, Chaos, Pinata, Taekwon Crow, and Wolfgang. These villains got a few in-game variants as well: Dark Golden Queen, Dark Wolfgang, Jingle Bell Chompy Mage, Mystical Bad Juju, Mystical Taekwon Crow, Steel-Plated Hoodsicle. And there was even one chase variant for the villains: Rock Candy Pinata. Beyond those playable characters in Imaginators though, we also got the Creation Crystals. These are unique playable figures with unique chips. They show up differently in the game. They meet all these criteria that we've talked about so far, and so they are included in the 603. The Air Acorn Creation Crystal. We're starting off strong here. The Air Acorn Creation Crystal. You probably don't have it in your collection, but it is included in the 603. Much like Heartbreaker Buckshot, it meets all the criteria. Physical figures exist, it has the chip, and it was intended to be released. Much like Heartbreaker Buckshot, I can understand if this figure, along with the other 4 unreleased Creation Crystals, aren't on your list. They're on my list, and they're part of the official 603 list, but you get to decide what you want to collect. I'll note the other unreleased crystals as we go along, but let's continue on with the list. Air Angel, Air Lantern, Dark Pyramid, Dark Reactor, Dark Rune, Earth Armor, Earth Rocket, Earth Rune. This was one of the 5 unreleased creation crystals. Fire Acorn, Fire Angel. This was the 3rd unreleased creation crystal. Fire Reactor, Life Acorn, Life Claw, Life Rocket, Life Rune, Light Angel. This was the 4th unreleased creation crystal. Light Fanged, Light Rune, Magic Claw, Magic Lantern, Magic Pyramid, Tech Armor, Tech Pyramid. This was the 5th unreleased creation crystal. Tech Reactor, Undead Claw, Undead Fanged, Undead Lantern, Water Armor, Water Fanged, Water Rocket. Now you wouldn't think we'd get out of here without any variants. So we do have 3 in-game variants for the creation crystals as well. The Legendary Life Acorn, Legendary Light Fanged, Legendary Magic Lantern. Then we have one final section for Skylanders Imaginators, the magic items. This one, surprisingly, has quite a few things to talk about, so let's dive into it. The blue chest for Cursed Tiki Temple, the blue chest from Lost Imaginite Mines. I'll stop here and address these right away. Yes, these are absolutely separate items. They're very much like the villain traps or mobile hot streak that we've discussed recently, where the outward appearance is identical, but the programming on the chip is different, and that absolutely makes them different items. They were intended to be separate items. But once again, the only way to identify which is which is to put it on the portal and check it in the game. You have the bronze mystery chest, CYOS 3D printed figure, CYOS card. If you're not familiar with these, I don't blame you. These were the last 2 items to be added to the list of the 603. Mobile hot streak that we talked about earlier was item 601, and then the CYOS figures were 602 and 603. CYOS stands for Create Your Own Skylander. This was a short-lived program that came out around the launch of Skylanders Imaginators. The figures that you created in the game, you could then have either 3D printed or put onto a card. Activision partnered with a third-party manufacturer to make these custom items. They were pretty pricey, and not a lot of people knew about it or could even afford it. But there are many of them out there. And the crazy part about them is the majority are one of a kind. They're unique because it was your own Imaginator that you created. Now, could someone have either gotten 2 of the same figure created, or 2 different people create the exact same figure and both get either 3D printed figures or the cards? Absolutely. I don't know if it happened, or I don't know how often it happened, but it's certainly possible. And believe it or not, these items do show up in the collection menu. Now, it doesn't show the exact character that you created in the menu. It will just show up as CYOS figure or CYOS card. Just a generic symbol indicating that yes, you do have one of these items unlocked. So as far as my collection is concerned, I just want one of each. One figure, one card, and that's enough for my collection. We got a few more magic items to talk about, so let's finish up this list. Enchanted Elven Forest, Gold Mystery Chest, Griffin Park Observatory, and the Silver Mystery Chest. That Imaginators list adds 94 items to the total, giving us 589 total figures. We're done with all 6 games, but we're still not at 603. And this is where a lot of people start to get tripped up. The remaining 14 figures all belong to one special group. And it's a group that, when you're thinking about figures, you don't necessarily forget about, but because they're not necessarily tied to one specific game, you miss them when you're going through these lists. I'm talking about the Eons Elite figures. In total, there were 14 Eons Elite figures created. The first 8 were released alongside Skylanders Trap Team, and the remaining 6 were released alongside Skylanders Superchargers. But they weren't technically part of the game. The figures released alongside Trap Team included Eons Elite Chop Chop, Eons Elite Eruptor, Eons Elite Gil Grunt, Eons Elite Spyro, Eons Elite Stealth Elf, Eons Elite Terrafin, Eons Elite Trigger Happy, and Eons Elite Whirlwind. The final 6 alongside Superchargers included Eons Elite Boomer, Eons Elite Dino-Rang, Eons Elite Ghost Roaster, Eons Elite Slam Bam, Eons Elite Voodoo, Eons Elite Zook. And there you have it. With those 14 figures, we are now at 603 total figures in the collection. Now, as I've stated before, the 603 is what I am aiming to collect. That is my goal. It doesn't have to be your goal. You get to decide what you want to collect. So that's my question for you. What are you collecting? Is your number 603? If not, what is your number? Share it with me in the comments below. And together, hopefully we can help you complete your collection. Happy hunting.